or a public safety power shutoff. Have a shared plan for you and your loved ones. Start today at sce.com/be prepared.
Is this the time?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A very busy night for LA's basketball teams. Let's start with the kids. USC beat Kansas State by 13 to win their season opener. 18 points and 6 assists for freshman sensation Isaiah Collier, the nation's #1 recruit in the class of 2023. UCLA rose to a 31-point win over St. Francis of Pennsylvania. USC's women's team won their season opener. They beat Ohio State by 9, 32 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists for freshman phenom Juju Watkins. The Lakers fell to 3-4 after a 1-point loss at Miami. The Clippers lost by 14 to the Knicks in New York. Nice game for James Harden in his debut. 17 points, 6 assists in 31 minutes. Monday Night Football, the Chargers beat the Jets in New York by 21. 2 touchdowns for Austin Eckler. The Chargers made it to 500 at 4-4. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us in celebrating the season of giving by being part of the solution. As we enjoy great food, family, warmth, and well wishes in whatever our festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours. Now through December 20th, all of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert Park. During the holidays and every day, let's remember, we keep us safe. We keep us warm. We are the safety net. And together, we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice, that's why. All my life, I've been grinding all my life. Look, all my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice, that's why. All my life, I've been grinding all my life. Look, I'm married to this game, that's who I made my wife. Said I die alone, I told that she probably right. One thing that's for sure, not a stranger to this life. Got a safe that's full of Franklins and a shoulder full of stripes. I don't know it like myself. I say self-made, meaning I design myself. County jail fade, you can pull my foul yourself. Spy rage, swallow rocks, I'm getting high myself. Nah, damn right I like the life I built. I'm from West Side 60, I might got killed. Standing so tall, they think I might got stills. Legendary baller like Mike, like Wilt. 96 Impala, thug life on wheels. Up against the wall, squabble at Fox Hills. Like a mother boss, ask me how I feel. Successful street, touching them first meals. All my life.
KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dominique DePrima, you know that, and I'm excited to have in the space with me today someone who really embodies the concept of social innovation, an entrepreneur, activist, and a commissioner. Actually the president of the LA World Airport Commission, which is a huge enterprise for those not from LA, something probably akin to a small state. Karim Webb joins me. Good morning.
Good morning.
Glad
to be with you this morning.
Yeah,
Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks for coming in. He's on the YouTubes, as am I. You got a lot going on, but mostly when we hear folks talking about you, they're talking about your enterprises, right? The Hilltop, the Buffalo Wild Wings, all of the various entrepreneurial enterprises that you have going. That's what you're, I guess, branded for. But what I notice the most is that there's always a social impact piece with you.
Yeah, no question. I think I know that I was very blessed to be born into a family that was entrepreneurial, that bred in me that anything that I qualified for, I could do. but that was also very connected and purposeful as it relates to Black outcomes, and leveraging, business in a capitalistic democracy to improve our outcomes. And so I saw that. I was, kind of got my PhD at the dinner table every day with my mom and dad, and their community, a community that included a lot of people that we know, heroes in LA, the John Max, the Danny Bakewells, and others. And so, really I grew up at the feet of all of those people, and the idea of the value of agency for Black people, and that we have to be intentional and strategic in terms of achieving it for ourselves.
Right. So that was because that's kind of where I went with it. Your family, were in the restaurant business franchise. You learned that, and you still went and started it up on your own. You didn't just go and say, hey, I'm going to just take over my mom and dad's businesses. You went and started your own series of businesses. Where did that piece come from, that social impact piece?
Oh, we all have a journey, and mine, like most Black folks, includes some trauma, some self-inflicted trauma in my early 20s. And
self-inflicted trauma.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. And so, when I was 11 years old and my dad came in my room, he was working for McDonald's Corporation at the time, and said, hey, you can never inherit my job, but one day you might be able to inherit my business. And for a guy that, went to Manual, grew up in South Central LA, raised by his grandmother, working for a company where he was able to earn stock options, and then able to leverage them in order to put a down payment to own a business, was a blessing. That was something to learn from in and of itself. So growing up at McDonald's, going to Morehouse College, working for other McDonald's franchisees, and that's a network of 300 Black families across the country who operate like a fraternity and a family to a degree, spend a lot of time together. McDonald's was the only thing I'd ever done until I was in my late 20s, and it was not the place that your friends would come to hang out or so on and so forth.
Right.
There was a lot of reasons why I was interested in doing other things.
Mm-hmm. So, you kind of have created the places your friends come to hang out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Between Hilltop and Buffalo Wild Wings, those are places people go to hang out, right?
For sure. And to be clear, I didn't create Hilltop. Like the portfolio of things that I'm involved in, some are enabling, some I've been blessed to have added a little bit of value, and friends like AJ and Yoni at Hilltop have allowed me to participate or ask me to be helpful early in the process. And there are a number of things that I'm involved in that I promote and am proud to be involved in, but I'm not really responsible for it. So I want to be clear about that. Buffalo Wild Wings is a little different. Some of the things that we're up to now, Silver Creek, which is a modular manufacturing business that my family's involved in, are things that we spend a good bit of time. And the civic engagement, when the mayor empowers you to lead a group of really talented people to get some stuff done. When you're spending $30 billion, at the airport, and there's $2 billion a year of revenue, you're going to spend some time, in order to get it right and to align people in a way that is consistent with the mayor's vision.
Okay, a lot right there to unpack. First of all, what is a modular? What did you call it?
Modular manufacturing.
Modular manufacturing.
So
what is that even?
It could be, building apartments and homes or ADUs.
It's basically Legos.
Sort of, yeah. But it's we build classrooms and schools primarily, and the business is out in Lake Paris, in the Hemet area, in the Inland Empire, and we build classrooms and buildings, and then we assemble them on site.
So when you talk about civic engagement and entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurship piece, as you're saying, it can be founding something, it can be investing in something, it can be helping to level it up or scale it up. And when you talk about the civic engagement, what is that piece? Because when I look at your Instagram or I look at your resume, I'm like, is this guy running for president? You're on this board, you're on that board, you're doing this charity, you're doing that charity, and you've got all of these businesses. Is that just something from the heart, or is it part of a strategy? Is it going to be, President Webb or something?
Absolutely not. I'm never running for office. That ain't
Really?
happening. No.
Never.
No, I can't even imagine a world unless my great grandmother came back in a dream some sort of way and said, it would have to be something I can't even imagine to happen, because I don't like doing things that aren't, to me, like as direct. When you're in business, you really, and especially when you're the boss or you're the entrepreneur, you don't make many moves that aren't consistent with like moving something forward a little faster. And that's my sweet spot. What you learned early in the restaurant business, like somebody's good on fries, leave them on fries. Like, it's all good. So like, I feel like I'm on fries generally, but everything fits, right? So, my board journey started as a board member at LA Southwest College, and it was an invitation from somebody that I met somewhere, like speaking to young people. My passion for young people came from working next to young people and knowing the only difference between me and them was my parents, right? So played ball with the same kids, went to different high schools, but we worked together, went to the same parks and played. For the fellas, we dated the same young ladies. It was all of that socially. It was my folks, but I was able to do everything that I qualified for because my parents could afford it. And I was exposed to things that those young people were not exposed to at the time. And I knew that was not of my doing, that was, by happenstance. I won the birth lottery, so to speak, as it relates to Black young people. And so I know that for the young people that work for me. I'm an entry-level employer with Buffalo Wild Wings franchises. And I know that through no fault of all of our young people's, through no fault of their own, many of us are born into situations that lead to these negative predictive outcomes. And, and at some point, I think when Buffalo Wild Wings was open here on Crenshaw, and my business partner Ed and I were teaching a class at Dorsey, something hit me. It was an epiphany. It was like, it's not about how many Buffalo Wild Wings open, it's how many young people can we empower, right? And that's when the board service thing happened. And then if you're a leader and you have a skill and you bring it to anything, you're going to get more opportunities. And ultimately, you see how it all works. Because I'm on the board at the California Community Foundation, those other board members are successful in their own field, have a lot of influence. So the things that I care about, Black outcomes, fairness as it relates to Black representation, increasing our average household income, educational attainment, health outcomes. These are now relationships and systems that I can leverage strategically and align with people that think like me in order to get more things done. And that's the point. So whether or not like it's in business or, AJ and Yoni at Hilltop, who are doing such an incredible job with Issa, or what AJ and Austin Clemens are doing with Slauson Company and their venture firm, and they're doing, just best in class in a short amount of time. What Ed and I are doing at Buffalo Wild Wings, South Central Wine, and some partners and I have launched many other things. I'm not even thinking about Every Table. I'm on the board of Every Table, right. Sam Polk and what he's doing, and social equity to enable young, primarily women of color, to own those businesses over time, leveraging the foundation network in order to finance the social enterprise in that way. Really, like being able to be at the table, to have clever conversations, to solve problems in ways that are consistent with my core competency, and then just to grow it, just to do more of it and enroll more people, kind of in the ideas, moving towards progress. We got to go get progress.
And you have some really specific ideas about how we can go get that progress. I want to talk about that when we come forward. I want to talk about the airport, because we hear so much about all of these dollars coming into Southern California prior to the World Cup, prior to the Olympics, and all of this building that's going on. And all of these areas have implications for those Black outcomes that you're talking about, as far as wealth building, as far as positioning ourselves for growth. So I want to look at that get to your specific ideas when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580. Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
The City of Los Angeles Civil Rights Department and its Reparations Advisory Commission are calling on you to be a part of something powerful. Join the Black Experience Study to share your experiences with the City of Los Angeles. We want to hear your stories. To join the study, join a focus group, or schedule an interview with us, visit www.blackexperiencela.com by December 31st. For more information, call 213-978-1845 or visit www.laisforeveryone.com.
It's pro time at Lowe's. Get big savings and rewards during Provember. Right now, buy one exclusive DeWalt 20-volt Max XR Power Detect 2-tool combo kit. Get one select Power Detect Bear tool free. That's up to a $249 value. And there's more. Save $200 on a DeWalt 12-inch dual bevel sliding miter saw. Because Lowe's knows tools. Lowe's knows pros. Valid through 11/22 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Meet Bruce.
Hey there.
He's a busy soccer dad who's trying hard to learn the game.
Go for the end zone.
Whoops. Luckily, other things come easy, like banking with Chase. On a tip from his banker, he set up autosave in the Chase mobile app. So what are you saving for, Bruce?
Father-daughter soccer camp.
Smart bankers, convenient tools. One bank with the power of both. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Autosave requires a Chase checking and savings account. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
I do appreciate you, and very excited to have with me a civic leader and an activist entrepreneur in the studio, Karim Webb. You say activist entrepreneur because you're combining the civic engagement with the entrepreneurship. It's not a given. Like, you could just say, I'm going to get mine, just get as rich as I can and as many franchises as I can and forget this black community. It's too much drama.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from, but it was wanting to broaden kind of how I define myself as bigger than a restaurateur. Mm-hmm. And that never really felt right to me because you go into these spaces with other franchisees and the brand that you're in or in the restaurant industry generally. When you employ the way that we try to employ, people want to learn from you. You know, typically a lot of conservative white men that run big restaurant platforms, and they're interested in how to engage their people. Their customers are oftentimes majority people of color, how to engage their customers. So you end up adding a lot of value. But you don't reap the same benefit. You don't have the same platform, same access to capital. So I didn't really align with restaurateur and what a restaurateur meant to me. And as an entrepreneur, it's like everything that we have a choice about how we approach everything. For me, it's all about improving outcomes. So I am an entrepreneurial activist. I'm not anything that I come to. I want to make sure the P&L, works. We're going to drive revenue and be efficient in the way that we do it. But at the same time, I'm not getting involved in anything that where I don't see how this, is a platform for conversation that drives us forward, and or creates a lot of opportunity for us.
Make sure the P&L works mean profit and loss.
Yeah.
Making sure that the business is making money, so it's not just activism, but it's not just making money, it's also activism.
In a capitalistic democracy, the business has to win. If the business doesn't win, then your thesis is flawed and your application of it is flawed. So like like the business has to go out here and compete, and the bigger that it is, the more impact it should have. If you're beginning with the end in mind.
Julianne Malveaux, the black economist, always talks about predatory capitalism and this idea of squeezing every ounce out of the worker, out of the profit bottom line. And I wonder, are we moving towards a more socially impactful kind of model? To me, that seems like the way to, at the risk of sounding dramatic, save capitalism, because I feel like if we keep going to this, predatory model where it's only profit, that's not sustainable.
Well, yes, I think some of us are, but very few.
Really?
I think there's an opportunity. I think philanthropy has the opportunity to drive it. And I also think the browning of America will have an impact on it in time. I think when you see foundations like Wellness that was run by Judy Belk until recently, and what she was investing in, or what Cal Wellness Foundation was investing in, it's different than her predecessor and different than other people in similar roles that don't come from her background, or what you see Dr. Ross doing at the endowment. Some of what we were up to at CCF. I'm excited about what Miguel Santana is going to do, as our new CEO there. So I think philanthropy has a big role to play, because they have the ability to enable access to capital and to really convene. That's their most powerful instrument, is to convene around it. But when you look at private equity and capital generally, there was a time when there were significantly more publicly held companies, and generally publicly held companies with public boards don't squeeze profitability the same way that private equity owned firms do. And now the majority of our economy is run, are businesses that are owned by private equity. And when businesses aren't public and they're being ran outside of the public scrutiny that exists in the public markets, you can have incentives and behaviors that aren't probably always consistent or as consistent with the interest of society as a whole. But the country's going to change, really rapidly, as it browns. That I think that's part of the macro conditions that exist around, not just in the economy, but in a lot of other ways, politically and otherwise, socially. The pushback that we're feeling, I know you talk a lot about that, but as it relates to the money, access to capital, and what we're doing, it's a really, really, really interesting time with things changing rapidly, and I hope we keep our eye on the prize.
Speaking of access to capital, one of the concrete ways that you've talked about, building wealth, or more, at least Black participation, is around pension funds. Explain what you mean by that.
Well, yeah. Well, in California, if you look at the payees into the biggest pension funds, CalPERS and CalSTRS have $1.2 trillion combined. And wow. And they invest some of that money in the public markets. They invest a lot of that money into private equity firms that manage that money. They have other ways that they invest it. But the money is invested in private equity firms that are primarily led by Black people at less than a fraction of a percentage. Even Latino people, who are, make up 50% of our state, it's less than 2%.
Wow.
And
that's stunning, actually.
It is. And why that matters is because people invest in people they trust and like and relate to. I mean, that part is human nature, right? And so in addition to conscious bias. We're not even talking about just the unconscious bias is one thing, but there's conscious bias too. And so, we don't have access to capital, or our businesses, even our super competitive businesses, will today don't get access to capital to be able to compete, to be a prime on $30 billion projects at the airport or at Metro or at the things that Rex Richardson has going on in Long Beach or the mayor has going on in other areas of the city. We don't get that access, even though people of color are significant percentages of the payees. So in other words, like, we spend a lot of our let's say, political bandwidth and political energy and activism energy around wages, and other indicators of quality of life, but not around wealth creation. And in a capitalistic democracy, I think we need to, elevate wealth creation as a pillar of our advocacy.
I mean, it's kind of like we're chasing the solution to the problem, which is, we need housing, we need better wages, we need which are all important. But what you're talking about is something that can arrest the cycle of that, ever increasing number of unhoused people, that ever increasing number of folks, dependent on low wage jobs. And so when you talk about those retirement funds being largely people of color, you're talking about the people who are paying into the retirement funds.
Yeah, if you're a police officer, or if you're a firefighter, or if you're a teacher, or if you work at Metro, or if you work for the city, right? Those are your retirement dollars. And it was a time when it was like those jobs, gave us security because there was retirement and pension income and so on and so forth. And what we believed is that quality of life would enable our children to go to college and to compete, not necessarily to have our job.
Right.
But why shouldn't our retirements fund our children's ideas?
Yeah.
Rather than somebody else's ideas that don't have our interests.
So how do we make that happen, Karim Webb? I mean, because it sounds very logical, right? Our dollars, our investment.
Well, we got to advocate. It's not a conversation that I really ever hear. I'm advocating to make certain that in the foundation community, which is a convener, if we think about HHH and really the homeless movement before the mayor was with us every day, before she came home from Congress, it was really that bond measure in HHH that was the differentiator in terms of getting those billions of dollars for homeless housing. And that started in the foundation community, the convening and the investing in what needed to happen to get that measure, those measures on the ballot and then get them passed. So philanthropy has the ability to lead here, and I hope that it will. I'm gonna work to make that happen. And then I think there's it's an awareness campaign. We need to be aware of this level of unfairness around access to the money so that we can compete to the high rises that you see happening in and around downtown, or the development happening in Inglewood, or all the infrastructure money that's being spent here, or the greening of California, all of the air conditioning and HVAC systems that have to be, and I'm just talking about government spending. I'm not even talking about in the private sector. And we are not positioned to take advantage of all the dollars that are going to be spent, that we are ultimately bonds and debt that the cities all around us will take out, that we will pay back as taxpayers. We're not positioned to be the contractors and the beneficiaries of the hundreds of billions of dollars. They'll be doing disadvantaged business enterprise programs where we're relegated to 10%, and then they try to figure out ways for us not to get the majority of the 10% in order so that they can get, other folks are getting 90% who are not aligned with our interests. And it's what we like to call hustling backwards.
We're talking with Karim Webb. The conversation continues after news, traffic, and sports. How do we get in position to get those dollars? That's next on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. It is a Tuesday, November 7th. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The U.S. Supreme Court is set to hear arguments today in a case over whether the government can deny access to guns for those subject to domestic violence protection orders. It stems from a case out of Texas where a man with a restraining order against him was suspected in multiple shootings. The High Court's decision is expected next year. A trial date has been set for 4 of the 5 Memphis, Tennessee police officers charged in the beating death of African-American Tyree Nichols during a traffic stop. The 4 were in court Monday, where a judge said the trial will start August 12th of 2024. While they have pleaded not guilty, that 5th officer changed his plea to guilty last week. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and VINnews.com.
Southern California Edison. Make plans to stay safe in an emergency or a public safety power shutoff. Have a shared plan for you and your loved ones. Start today at sce.com/be prepared.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A very busy night for LA's basketball teams. Let's start with the kids. USC beat Kansas State by 13 to win their season opener. 18 points and 6 assists for freshman sensation Isaiah Collier, the nation's #1 recruit in the class of 2023. UCLA rose to a 31-point win over St. Francis of Pennsylvania. USC's women's team won their season opener. They beat Ohio State by 9, 32 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists for freshman phenom Juju Watkins. The Lakers fell to 3-4 after a 1-point loss at Miami. The Clippers lost by 14 to the Knicks in New York. Nice game for James Harden in his debut. 17 points, 6 assists in 31 minutes. Monday Night Football, the Chargers beat the Jets in New York by 21. 2 touchdowns for Austin Eckler. The Chargers made it to 500 at 4-4. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
Meet LA's most affordable health plan. This open enrollment season, LA Care Covered is proud to offer the lowest cost health plans in Los Angeles County, featuring zero cost preventive services to help you achieve your wellness goals. Be part of the region's largest HMO network, featuring UCLA Health, Optum, and allied physicians without breaking the bank. We are here to help. Call us at 855-222-4239 for enrollment assistance. That's 855-222-4239. LA Care Covered. Your wellness, our mission.
Los Angeles, black men are dying from preventable health causes and diseases, but you can be part of the solution. Join us Saturday, November 11th at the Michelle and Barack Obama Sports Complex next to Dorsey High for the African American Male Wellness 5K Walk and Run. Walk for your brother, walk for your father, walk for your son, walk for your uncle, walk for yourself. This is a free, family-friendly event for the entire community. We'll have free health screenings, vendors, kids' activities, and more. We'll see you at 8 a.m.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Entrepreneurial activist Karim Webb is my guest today. Also happens to be the president of the LA World Airports Commission. And we do have a lot to talk about, how to get access to that wealth and some of the other things that you are doing that I want to focus on. But first, let's go to Antonio calling us from LA. Antonio, thank you for your patience. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're on the radio. What's on your mind?
So I have a question. I'm a Class A engineering contractor. I have a company for steam pipeline, but the problem is I've never done I qualify for these major contracts, but I've never done it. So it's hard for me to accept a contract when I haven't done the work. Does that make sense? So I'm trying to build the knowledge to be able to do that.
You have the company, you qualify, but you've never done it, so you're scared?
Absolutely, because I don't want to squander this opportunity. You know, if when you're building these contracts, if it goes bad, they could take your house, they could, And so my thing is wanting to make sure that I could do the projects or maybe witness it, before I actually get involved in it. So I wanted to know what would your guest or whatever, how would he suggest I go about, maybe getting the information, maybe volunteering, or what would he suggest in that act, for these contracts?
What kind of engineering do you do?
So I do water pipeline particularly, but I can do anything, though. My engineering contractor's license qualifies me to do anything, bridges, buildings, any of that stuff. So I have the know-how, but again, I just don't have the technical skills to actually do it.
Well, my suggestion is, when you say water pipelines, I think Department of Water and Power for sure in LA, Metro, Edison, LAX, all have academies and or resources and departments that kind of help you figure out how you might be able to be a sub on a project to begin with. And also kind of inform you of what RFPs are coming down. Typically, they have
requests for proposals.
Yeah, information sessions where they can partner primes with subs. There are a lot of environments that you can put yourself in to learn and just go a little bit deeper about what the opportunities are, what the requirements are, and how you might be able to work with any of these entities to get your first opportunity, get your feet wet, and then grow from there.
And you talk about being a sub. It's like he would be a subcontractor under a larger entity to be able to work on a project that way, maybe get his confidence or kind of get his sea legs to be able to move forward.
Yeah, and ultimately, I assume, and brother, you can share with us, I assume like if you have your license, you went and got the license, but you may be working for somebody else in this field in the past, right? Yeah. So
exactly.
if you've done the work, what you're going to find is that there are some processes that you're unfamiliar with. There are probably going to be some requirements, capital, insurance, and others that you may or may not be familiar with. And then there are the systems. So whether or not you're working at one of the airports, or whether you're working with Metro, or you're working, at one of the city agencies, every apparatus or platform has its own process, its own people that it pays to get to know, so that you can execute the business part of. And when I say the business part of it, is the non-engineering part of executing,
right,
tackling an opportunity, and do that efficiently. But you just got to be in it to win it. So if you wanted to start somewhere, a resource I could give you, you could go to LAWA, Los Angeles World Airport's website. And if you search for Amber Meshach and her group, you would be able to be connected, and there are resources there. If you reached out, sent an email, or made a phone call, they would call you back and invite you to an information session.
I was just last week I did actually emceed a supplier diversity fair for the DWP, and there were primes and there were smaller companies like yours connecting with those primes, Antonio. And I listening to you, Karim Webb, I feel like a lot of these big agencies probably have similar pipelines to try to get some of these smaller contractors ready, right?
And they do, and it's important. It's a really important function. In addition, which is what it's the muscle that they've been exercising, so they're really good at it. So, a small business that wants the opportunity to grow in time, but wants to kind of get in, all of these platforms, they do a really good job at that, because that's what they do. What they don't do a good job at is helping the company go from small to large and competing for the real for much bigger chunks of the business.
Right. Yeah. Well, Antonio, it's lawa.org, lawa.org, laworldairports.org. Scale up. Those are two things I feel like Black businesses in particular struggle with. Number one is just what Antonio said. We know how to do the thing. We just don't know how to do the business part that goes with the thing. We can make the pies or make the pipes, fix the pipes or make the videos, but making that function as a business that's not being funded out of our pocket is not our strong suit. And then scaling up. So many folks that I know that have businesses struggle to scale up.
Yeah, it takes a skill set that is different than the skill set that's needed to establish the original business.
So are we meant to hire people to scale us up? Are we meant to hire, is it go to Vermont Slauson Economic Development Corporation and learn, or do we not, or do we need to go ahead and hire the people? Because I think sometimes as Black people or lower income folks, we are more hesitant to hire a lawyer, hire an accountant, even though we spend money on other stuff.
Yes. So I think you can acquire the expertise in a lot of different ways. One, you can either attain it yourself, which is not always, easy while you're trying to keep your business afloat and do what you're doing every day. You can partner, which is something that I don't think we do enough of, is to try to figure out, not necessarily because you can't do it, but you have a core competency. So who or what has a complementary core competency that could allow you to grow that opportunity?
Yeah.
I think that's really important. And,
I'm laughing because my friend Marie Deary, has a financial management company, is always telling me, stick to your core business, Dominique. Yeah. Every time I come to her with some crazy idea, she's like, stick to your core business. That's why I'm laughing.
Yeah, and when it comes to partnering, we have to really deal with the fact that we've got, 400 years of trauma and trust issues and all of that kind of stuff as it relates to, kind of trusting another person, with your well-being or the well-being of something you've worked years and years and years for to get it to where it is. That's another risk.
So we rather neglect it ourselves and risk someone else
in order to grow.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, there are more than one way to acquire the information that's needed. I definitely, again, or we can go back to the access to capital thing. When you go to a bank for a bank loan, typically you need 2 years of bank statements, and it's the lowest risk capital that exists is bank debt. Private equity is you're going to have a partner that comes with bigger skill sets. Now, private equity typically is looking for, if you own a restaurant, they want a lot of units. Private equity is not going to come in for one unit necessarily that's doing well and help that company grow. That's not how that model works. Neither does venture capital. Venture capital and that asset class or the things that they invest in is different than, let's say, a small restaurant. But if you are a subcontractor and you've been growing your business and you grew your business from $1 million in revenue to $5 or $7 million in revenue, and your business is positioned to take advantage of a lot of opportunity in the region, you're probably pretty attractive to somebody, some partner, or some capital resource, private equity or other, that would be interested in enabling and bringing skill set to the table to help you take advantage of the opportunities.
It feels like there's such a big gap between what you're talking about, all these dollars, coming into LA. And I'm sure this is Southern California is not the only place, right, where you see these huge developments and build outs going on. It feels like there's such a big gap between our ability to step up on that level of business and where we are right now.
Well, there is a gap. There's a significant gap because we get so few of the dollars. I mean, we're, maybe a little less than 8% of the population of LA, about the same population in the region generally, where there's 25 million people. And in terms of the wealth that we bring in, right, it is significantly less than our population. where, maybe around 1%.
Wealth that we bring into our own communities. I feel like we're bringing wealth into other communities.
No, I'm talking about the money that we make versus the GDP of the area.
Right.
Right. Like we're 8% of the people. We don't get 8% of the dollars don't come through our hands.
Right.
And to me, as like those of us who are taking responsibility with our lives for doing the best that we can to advance our agency, our ability to exist with choice and power in LA, need to be trying to reverse engineer strategies to help us get our fair share of the resources, because with the resources comes choice and self-determination. And we're way off. And it's not the government per se that's going to solve that problem for us. We have to really understand the financial markets, and then we got to advocate strategically for what should be coming to us. Have folks in place that can manage big portfolios of resources of dollars, and then be able to have opportunities and to be able to get those investment dollars into our businesses, and then do the right thing, then be the right employers, develop other people, hire, subs and smaller companies, be intentional about the other service providers that we hire, act like we really care about improving our outcomes, all of us, all the time.
All of us, all the time. I love that. Sounds like a slogan. All of us, all the time. We're talking with Karim Webb, and the conversation continues when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
At Susan G. Komen, we believe that ending breast cancer needs all of us working together. Because if you've just been diagnosed and don't know where to turn, we've got you. If you can't afford the treatment you need, we've got you. And if you are driven to honor the loved one you've just lost, we have a place for you here. Because of you, we're supporting those who need help today while tirelessly searching for tomorrow's cures. Visit Komen.org and be a part of our Susan G. Komen community today.
Do you have both Medi-Cal and Medicare? The new LA Care health plan called LA Care Medicare Plus, HMO DSNP, can help you get the most out of your health plan for $0 premium. LA Care is here to provide Angelinos with access to quality health care at an affordable cost. For $0 premium, you can get full benefits from vision coverage and in-home support services to prescription drug coverage, plus more. Call 855-688-1479. 855-688-1479. The City of Los Angeles Civil Rights Department and its Reparations Advisory Commission are calling on you to be a part of something powerful. Join the Black Experience study to share your experiences with the City of Los Angeles. We want to hear your stories. To join the study, join a focus group, or schedule an interview with us, visit www.blackexperiencela.com by December 31st. For more information, call 213-978-1845 or visit www.laisforeveryone.com.
In Big Tobacco's Fantasyland, children are the future. Here, tobacco companies are committed to higher education, offering scholarships to students who submit essays about the benefits of vaping. The tobacco industry even sponsors summer camps for kids. Don't worry, the tobacco-sponsored programs have been linked to leaving your kids more interested in smoking. In Big Tobacco's Fantasyland, the world's deadliest industry is your child's friend.
See reality at undo.org.
Los Angeles, Black men are dying from preventable health causes and diseases, but you can be part of the solution. Join us Saturday, November 11th at the Michelle and Barack Obama Sports Complex next to Dorsey High for the African American Male Wellness 5K Walk and Run. Walk for your brother, walk for your father, walk for your son, walk for your uncle, walk for yourself. This is a free, family-friendly event for the entire community. We'll have free health screenings, vendors, kids' activities, and more. We'll see you at 8 a.m.
Happy holidays, foodies! Les Affairs is your local Black-owned event planning and catering service you can trust to provide a Thanksgiving free of the holiday scaries. Find us at lesaffairsevents.com. No grocery shopping in this haunting economy, laboring over a burning stove or battling the boogeyman, the dishes. Spooky season's over. Let Les Affairs cater your feast. Order from our selection of meats and sides delivered Thanksgiving Eve. Next day, heat, eat, and enjoy. Learn more at LesAffairsEvents.com or Instagram at LesAffairsEvents, LesAffairsEvents. Bon appetit!
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Entrepreneurial activist Karim Webb is with us. Okay, real quick before we get into airport, I have to ask you about what happened to the Buffalo Wild Wings on Crenshaw, because I've been hearing some crazy stories. We got new owners in the mall, and suddenly there's no more Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh, yeah. No, well, I'm glad you asked. So first of all, when you're a franchise like that, you typically do a 10-year lease with 2 5-year options. So you control the space for 20 years when you're going to invest that kind of money that it costs to build those things out. And then what happened on Crenshaw is Metro happened to us, really. So as the Crenshaw line began to get built, if you remember, there were days and nights, and certainly, multiple hours and days where Crenshaw would be closed down, et cetera, et cetera. And so traffic patterns changed. And so the volume in the store began to decrease because people who were used to maybe coming up Crenshaw to get home or whatever and see Buffalo Wild Wings stop in, started taking La Brea or Arlington to go from north to south. So the volume began to drop. And then the mall announced that they were going to do this significant redevelopment. So if the mall is going to do a significant redevelopment, it didn't make sense to try to exercise your next 10 years on the lease. You couldn't do that because that part of the mall right now is getting ready to be torn down, and they're going to build apartments there, whatever they're going to do. So also in your franchise agreement, at about 7 years, you have to remodel. And to go and spend $400,000 or $500,000, put in new TVs, fix the bathrooms, like do new furniture, decor, and all of that kind of stuff, for us when you knew you weren't going to be there the next 20 years, it didn't make sense. We opened the Buffalo Wild Wings in Koreatown. A lot of our customers that live in and around the Crenshaw district and were coming to that Buffalo Wild Wings were going up there. We were losing money, a good amount of money every month.
Wow.
And so at some point you just, you say, all right, well, we're going to do some other things. We'll be on Figueroa soon in the USC corridor. We're, all the employees and team members that we had in Baldwin Hills or at the Crenshaw Mall had opportunities to work at other stores. And we're still, very committed in our community. That's what really matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you got to make the right business
Breaking news. Okay, that rumor control here.
Yeah.
So talk to me about LA World Airport. You're the president of that commission. LA World Airport, huge organization.
Mm-hmm.
All of those, not just all the airlines and everything that happens in the airport, but all of those businesses that are there as well. What should we know about?
Well, you should know that it's a tremendous economy in and of itself. It drives $2 billion worth of revenue every year.
Wow.
And pre-COVID, 100 million travelers would go through LAX every year. And we'll probably hit about 88% of that this year. And next year we'll get pretty close to 100 million travelers again. We're spending $30 billion to redo the airport. So if you have driven by the airport, or if you've flown in or out of LAX in the last few years, you've seen the elevated train that's coming. You've seen a lot of the work in the terminals. We probably have a little bit over $12 billion of that 30 that we've spent already, but we're going to build a Terminal 0, a whole new terminal, adjacent to the Southwest Terminal 1. We're going to build a Terminal 9. We're doing a consolidated cargo facility. There is now a consolidated rental car facility. So you'll be able to take the train, the Crenshaw line, into the airport. It'll connect to an elevated train and then take you very close to any of the terminals that you would need to use. The facility is being totally remade. It's going to be a much better user experience. That 45 minutes when you have to go, I used to hear somebody say like the least favorite 6 words that somebody could tell you in LA is, could you pick me up from the airport?
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So it's like that 45 minutes sometimes that it takes to drive around the central terminal area, we anticipate that to be mitigated for the most part. So,
everything's in transition now.
Yeah.
Even that little whatever they call it, LA exit, where you go
Yeah,
over to that
that'll
parking
be gone
lot, which
once the train is.
I'm not gonna lie, I
yeah,
hate that
Yeah,
thing.
no, we all. I mean, listen, it's making the best of a bad situation.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
know it, but once the train is open, that won't exist anymore.
Right.
Right.
That's
And
what I
so-
was hoping.
Yeah, yeah. So give us till let's call it the first quarter of 2025. That train should be operating.
Okay,
so we're not
so-
too far away.
Yeah, so that's a pretty quick timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Back to your, I mean, you're really passionate about, good outcomes, better outcomes for Black folks.
Mm-hmm.
How does that apply to the business being done at the airport?
Oh, well, our spend in terms of who the contractors are for the $30 billion does not look like, God willing, how it'll look, after we've been in place, this current board, for a few years. We're actively in the process of changing that. A couple of months ago, the CEO resigned in order to pursue another opportunity, and we're in the process of onboarding a new CEO. And the people that we're interviewing, I think, are committed to the mayor's vision of improving, the disparity of who gets what. We got to make the airport, when you spend this kind of money in all of our public platforms, yes, the what has to happen in a world-class way, but so does the how. And so our board and my role as president is to enable all of the talent that is on the airport commission. There's 7 of us, to dramatically improve the how. I can tell you that, on our commission, we've historically had 2 committees. We've had an audit committee and then a security committee. I'm sure you can imagine how important security is at an airport. But we're standing up a procurement committee so we can have our eyes much closer and in much more detail on the who gets what and what is the process in order to help more people qualify, and what are the barriers to qualifying for opportunities, as well as a workforce development committee. Like we really want to be the world's best airport and region for aviation careers. And we have the talent on our board and the talent at LAX, at LAWA, on the management side to be able to do that, and we're going to be aggressive about it.
Karim Webb, we got about a minute left here. I appreciate you coming in, supporting the station, spending the hour with us. What do you want to leave us with this morning?
I want to leave us with something, kind of positive and forward-looking. I kind of go back to our ancestors too. It's like I feel like there is a reason why we've experienced some of the things that we've experienced as a people, that we've never been led by a more committed, kind of checks on the board leader in terms of Mayor Bass, who's only about doing the right things for the right reasons. We have other leaders in our region, our supervisor, Holly Mitchell, Marquise Harris Dawson. If there was ever a time for us to kind of get in where we fit in, now is the time across the region. And I think we're also finding a lot of alignment and allegiance, which is needed with our Brown brothers and sisters and the leaders in that space, kind of, coming after the drama that we saw, coming out of city council a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Now is the time for all of us to really align in order to improve outcomes. Let's go get it.
Let's go get it. You can find him everywhere at Karim Webb. You can find us everywhere at KBLA 1580. And you guys keep telling me, bring back the quotes, bring back the quotes. My quote today is coming straight from today, from Karim Webb. I love that. Everybody, all the time. Everybody, all the time. I'm Dominique DePrima. History is now, and we are making it together. Tavis Smiley's up next. He's got a great show on deck for you. I'll see you on the social medias. Until tomorrow, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. It is a Tuesday, November 7th. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The U.S. Supreme Court is set to hear arguments today in a case over whether the government can deny access